Hi everyone, welcome back to Eco and Crafts. I've got a really exciting video for you guys today. Some of you might have seen that I went through a list of zero waste pattern companies and pattern designs a few weeks ago, and there's been loads of interest in this, and so I thought I would make, or have a go at making, the Adonis Dress by Re.formon nous. It was one of the patterns that really caught my eye. I think it's really interesting design, and I really like how they sort of provide the pattern pieces basically as a block, and I'll show you kind of a little clip up here, but the pattern pieces are all as kind of one square, and you basically just plonk that onto your fabric at this very minimal wastage. I cut the pattern piece out yesterday evening, and again, because you can just plonk the whole square just on, you can then just cut along the lines of the pattern, so you can cut through the paper and the fabric, which I've never cut so quickly and so neatly my pattern pieces out, so there's that for a plus. I think if you're particularly precious about your sewing scissors, then you should probably cut the paper out first. But it was very efficient, definitely appreciated that. The sticking point has slightly come this morning because one of the reasons why I chose to do the Adonis pattern was that it apparently comes with a YouTube video tutorial, which was great because the information in the download that you get, it's a free download by the way, is pretty minimal. So I was very much planning to rely on the YouTube video, but unfortunately the channel seems to not exist anymore. So it's going to be a sort of DIY jigsaw puzzle time. If any of you guys have found the video, then please post it in the links down below so other people might be able to find it in the future, but I have not been able to find it. So again, I've laid out the pattern pieces like how I think it's going to go from looking at some of the line drawings and from some of the images of the models wearing these Adonis dresses, and we're just going to have to take it one step at a time. There's definitely a few things I need to bear in mind. For example, it's all 1 centimetre seam allowances apart from the centre front and centre back seams on the top, which is 1.5. There's some side leg slits, so the skirt isn't completely sewn in all the way around. And there is the back pretty much open, which is just tied together with some bias binding around the neckline. And the cuff sleeves are slightly shaped, and I think they kind of slightly overlapped at the back. But again, we're going to have to cross that bridge when we get to it. So I'm going to take you guys along for the ride with me. Hopefully I produced a wearable item of clothing and some how-to that is vaguely along the right lines that anyone else who's a bit lost like me might be able to follow. But we'll see how it goes. So I've got a whole day of sewing ahead of me. I hope I can get it done by the end of the day. We will find out. So started by sewing the centre front seam with a 50mm seam allowance. Then moved on to sewing the shoulder seams on both sides. The back needs to be left more open, so I left that to begin with. As you can see, I am doing French seams, which is where the seam is enclosed in on itself. After that I did the lower front seam, so down the middle and joining it on both sides. And then when that was done, I did the same pieces at the back. Here you can see the markings for where the open back is, so this bit is open, and then the bottom part of the lower back panel is where you're going to stitch, and then stitching obviously along the sides on each side. So all of that's done, and I've just neatened up the open edges at the back, and this is what it currently looks like. I've sewn the centre, front and back of the skirt, and I'm just going to attach that to the bodice section of the dress. Next was sewing on the side seams, and I was trying to do it basically as a row-on pocket style, so I just kept sewing all the way down from the side of the sleeve, round the waistband belt and down to the side of the skirt to where the marker is, where it becomes like an open side slit on the side of the skirt. So did that on both sides, that's where we ended up. And then for the cuffs, I sewed the 4 cuff pieces together, as you can see here, and then it's quite hard to demonstrate this with one hand, but essentially matching up the middle of the cuff seams with the side seams of the sleeves, and then wrapping it round, and it sort of folds over itself, and just making sure that was the same way folded on both sides. Okay, so mission complete. I have finished the make. I really hope that the sort of step-by-step how-to that I tried to do while I was making this has made some sort of sense to some of you, in case you also can't find the official how to make it video like I couldn't. But I was just trying to figure it out as I went along, and it's not something I've had to do before, so I'm sorry if some of it doesn't make sense or there's things that you'd have done in a different way. Obviously this is not the official how-to video, this is literally just how I managed to make it work. I'll pop the finished look on the floor just here. As you can see, it still kind of doesn't really look like much, and I didn't try it on at any point while I was making it because I was like, what's the point? This is a zero waste item, this is how it's supposed to look, and we're just gonna have to see what it turns out like. So I will say that I am really impressed actually with how it's come out and how it fits. Very pleasantly surprised. It's actually one of my most favourite things that I've made. I think it's really flattering on. I think it'll look great on pretty much anybody. And I'll show you a little twirl of me wearing it at the end, so you can hopefully see what I'm on about. I'd love to hear what you guys think about the finished look, if there's things that you would change about it yourselves, if there's different ways of making it that you would have recommended instead of how I did it, again to help anybody else out who also hasn't found the official how to make instructions. But yeah, I would say it was a really great experience. I'm not the quickest sewer, and I do French seams for all of the things I make, so it means each seam I have to sew twice. But I think it took me about 12 hours to actually sew, and maybe about an hour to kind of get all the pattern pieces and everything cut out before that. So it is, for me, a whole day's sewing. Obviously if you're quick or you have something like an overlocker and things like that to finish your seams instead, then it'll probably take you much less time. But just to give any of you guys an idea, I would kind of say that I was kind of a confident beginner or intermediate sewer. I think it's definitely beginner friendly, but probably not as your very first make, because you do have to kind of think through the construction of it a bit yourself. But I did manage to construct it myself without too much issue really, so I would really recommend anyone give this a go. Website below, and as always, if you guys found this useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe, it really helps my channel out. And if you have any other Zeroes patterns that you'd like me to have a go at, by all means put them in the links below. I've really got the bug from this one, and I'm keen to see what is out there for me to try next. So thanks guys, I'll see you next time.